Two fellows meet, like you and I. No connection between them whatsoever. Each one has somebody that he'd like to get rid of. So, they swap murder.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin,
I'm Jake.
and this is Movie Matters. Today, we start Hitchcock Month, and we're doing Strangers on a Train. Jake, did we watch this movie in like our film class or something?
I don't
in high
think
school?
so.
No?
I've never
I
seen
wa-
it before.
Oh, really? Okay. I've seen this movie before. Yeah, it came out in 1951. This movie's 75 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy. I've seen this movie before. I don't remember when I saw it, but I definitely watched it for a film class of some sorts. And I love this movie. I think it's great. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I don't know. It's like not as good as some of his other movies, but it's still a really good movie.
Yeah, I was thoroughly entertained. I thought the runtime was perfect. It flew by, in my opinion. It wasn't boring. There's some very kind of funny, dated moments of it being a movie from 1951.
Yeah.
There's also a guy I forget who it was, but he's like, one of the lines was, "Oh, he copped to it," or like he
Yeah.
copped it, and I was like, I thought that was a Gen Z term, like copping something. I didn't know that that's been around for 75 plus years. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've heard that before.
I've only heard that from like my Gen Z friends, and I don't know. It's just not part of my lingo. This movie was shot insanely well. It was nominated for Best Cinematography, black and white cinematography. How it didn't win is beyond me, because the camera work in this movie is so freaking awesome. It's like my favorite part of the entire movie. I mean, we kind of mentioned that in our other Hitchcock movie, Dial M for Murder, with just the camera. He's a master of the camera. He really is.
Yeah.
And, his placement and his blocking is so incredible. And this is Robert Burks who did the cinematography here, and this is the first movie that kind of set their relationship moving forward. They worked for 13 years and made 12 more movies than this, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, he did an awesome job with this, and from what he said, he's like, just, you never have any trouble with Hitchcock as long as you do your job and you know how to do it. Because Hitchcock insists on perfection. Like, he's a perfectionist. He needs it to be perfect. We kind of mentioned that in Dial M for Murder with the scissors and the glow of the light on him. He has no patience for mediocrity. And he also has no patience for that at the dinner table, from what I was reading. He's like, that's what this guy was saying, Robert Burks. He's like, there can be no compromise in his work, his food, or his wine. So...
He knows what he wants.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this month. I've been wanting to watch more Hitchcock movies, and I haven't seen half of them in so long. I watched them all a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, I think the premise is really interesting. It's very similar to Dial M for Murder. It's like a very similar style, if you will, or like story. Where you meet a stranger on the train, and it's this psychopath, and he's like, let's swap murders. Like, you want your wife gone, I want my dad gone. Guy's got daddy issues, and he's clearly he's like the best part of this movie. Bruno Antony, played by Robert Walker. He is so awesome in this. He's so like unhinged and like creepy and but also charming.
Such a man child too. Like,
yes. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like he's so methodical, and he's like, I love how he's always like, I'm good at this. And it's interesting to like, I would wonder what his backstory is. And I was thinking that like the whole movie, and his mother even says, oh, he like does stuff like this all the time. Like, he's always messing around with people. Like, that is very intriguing to me. It's like, what else does this guy do? He's like he's a very good villain in this movie.
Yeah, agreed. Like, it's never explicitly said, but it's heavily implied that like he forced that encounter, in the beginning, or like planned it, to some degree, because he's obviously like read up a lot about Guy, and it's kind of the perfect counterpart, for his proposal,
Yeah.
to like take each other's murders or whatever, however he puts it. But yeah, like he's kind of a like he is a mastermind, but he's not perfect. And like that's where, and like, but a lot, like throughout the movie he kind of thinks he is, which is
Yes.
like, interesting, and I think really makes him compelling, because you're like waiting for the slip up, that really does him in.
Yeah. And he doesn't necessarily have one,
Yeah.
if you think about it. It's just he gets caught at the end because, well, his only slip up, actually, I guess you could say this, is when he's walking away from the murder, and like everyone else is looking, and he's the only one walking away, and like the one like ride attendant is like, that's suspicious. And I think there's I'm jumping way ahead here, but like and they show it in the trailer, but like the best shot of this whole entire movie is when it's the tennis match and Bruno's there watching Guy play, and everyone is just watching, going back and forth with their heads, and he's just literally looking at Guy. That is the coolest shot. Like, there's some amazing shots in this movie, and that's just one of them. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's kind of like that now famous meme, but like the shot from The Boys where there's like a crowd and Carl Urban's in the crowd looking at Homelander, and the crowd like turns away, but Carl Urban's still like staring at him. He's the only one facing the wrong direction. It's that same type of shot.
Yeah,
which was probably inspired by this movie.
I'm sure. I feel like a lot. I mean, Hitchcock, like literally watching Hitchcock movies makes me want to make movies. It literally want to make it like I literally want to make cool stuff like this. Yeah. And again, we're on that kick of like older movies right now, which is kind of funny because the whole reason we changed the tune this season was to do more modern movies, which is kind of funny. And now we're on this kick of 50s movies. I'm sure after this month we'll get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it more this month, I'm sure. But like, there's just something about like this era from like the 50s, or like even like early to mid 40s through like the like beginning of the 60s, where I feel like they peaked at like the technical like aspects of filmmaking, and then it started to become about like, okay, how do we like mess with narratives to make them more, compelling and stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, like of the movies we've watched from pre 1965, like they're all just like technical marvels and like masterpieces, like from like just like the writing and cinematography and acting, and like, but they're all pretty straightforward plot wise and like very accessible, and there's not a whole bunch of like shocking like twists or turns or like unexpected kind of things. Maybe it's because like these are all like a lot of movies are derived from these movies, so like it's not like particularly surprising, because like we've seen all of these kind of like twists and turns before in more modern movies, but I don't know.
We're used to it as an audience. Imagine seeing this movie in 1951. I mean, this was a very successful box office hit compared to his other movies. He had kind of a string of failures. But imagine seeing this and, the whole, just again, the cinematography, the action shots in this movie of, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself because there's so many cool stuff. There's so much cool stuff in this movie. But yeah, I think it's interesting to hear it from our, I guess, again, that's kind of why this podcast exists and why I want to do this podcast is like hearing our perspective on older movies. I mean, that's why I wanted to do like the 80s version. It's because, we kind of missed out on that era being born in the 90s. But, I mean, we also missed out on all the decades of film before that.
Yeah.
And imagine seeing something like this in the theater, which is funny because this is a fun little random piece of trivia that I read. There's some great trivia on this movie, by the way. This movie determined the location of Carol Burnett's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 1951, so when this movie came out, she was working as an usher when this movie was playing at the Warner Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. A couple arrived late, and Burnett, having already seen the movie, advised them it was a wonderful movie that should be seen from the beginning. The manager of the theater overheard this and fired her because of that. And many years later, when Carol Burnett was asked where she would like her star placed on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, she requested right in front of that theater.
Yeah, nice.
Which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really funny, it doesn't really pertain to the plot of the movie, but I just think it's cool because it's a movie that needs to be seen from beginning to end. And it's like, imagine seeing this in the theater in 1951. I think it'd be awesome. I think seeing any Hitchcock movie in the theater like back then would be sick.
Yeah. I think what's particularly striking about this movie is how well it's paced and how well he just kind of throws you straight into it from the get-go. Dial M for Murder, we talked about how the first 30 minutes of the movie is basically just two people talking and laying out the entire plot of the movie basically. And he doesn't do that here. This is rapid fire action to start off, or not necessarily action, but fast paced cutting and very precise crisp dialogue that sets up everything. And I think the whole train segment is done in less than 10 minutes, and then you get into the movie, which is for expect a little bit more to happen on a train in a movie called Strangers on a Train.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I was thinking it would take more. I've seen this movie and I thought it would take more. The setting would be more on the train, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't seen this movie since either high school or college, so it's been a while. Yeah, and it's funny you say 10 minutes in. So at 11 minutes, Hitchcock makes his cameo. Did you catch it? Because I did not.
Yeah, he's the guy bringing a cello or something onto the train.
Yeah. It's a double bass, which is often mistaken for a cello from what I was reading. Just after Guy exits the train in Metcalf. But yeah, I think, and then you get Bruno and he lives with his parents and you're like, of course. And it's kind of funny because
yeah.
his mom is filing his nails. Oh, did I do them too short? And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
This dude's a man-child. And then again, he wants his dad murdered this guy. I watched this with my wife and she said, she's like, how old are these characters? I feel like they're all playing children, but yet they're 40.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting to say that because he is a man-child in this. And then, I don't know, it was interesting to me. Hitchcock and Walker worked out an elaborate series of gestures and his physical appearance to suggest homosexuality and seductiveness of Bruno's character while bypassing censor objections. In that time, you couldn't do that. You couldn't have homosexuality on screen, and they wanted him to appear very with a homosexuality to him, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the way he talks to Guy is kind of gay.
Yeah.
Like, or like you get the feeling that this isn't necessarily just a like a transaction of I want these
There's
people
some
dead or
undertones.
whatever. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little bit more of like an obsession with Guy in particular, and maybe that's why he chose him, to be the unwitting partner in this in his scheme.
Yeah.
It's like like he keeps showing up and like following him places and stuff, too. So like, yeah, there's that hint of like, there might be some other motivations.
Yeah. Definitely. And like his attire, his wardrobe is like very like well manicured and very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of his outfits, like his like tuxedo's badass, and like some of his like robes and stuff are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's very extravagant for like just normal living, I guess you could say.
And for early 30s, maybe late 20s guy that's living with his parents, like dressing like
Yeah.
that all the time is like, okay,
Yeah.
like
It's interesting. Yeah.
you could just go get a job, but
Yeah. And then you get then you get to the fair, which the whole fair sequence is awesome.
yeah.
And you got Guy's wife there, Miriam, who is a flirt. She's there with two dudes, which is very interesting.
Some would
there's-
say a hoe.
And in this movie, they called her a tramp.
Yeah. But like what struck me about the whole thing with her is how like, I mean, because like it's pretty scandalous, like by today's standards, like you're engaged to be married and you're pregnant with someone else's baby. Like, yeah, that's like, not great. Like I can imagine how like crazy that was for audiences in the 50s. Be like, wow, like that's not a good situation, like at all. And like does not care about it at all either, which is like even more shocking.
Yeah. And what I think too, like, I don't know if they mentioned this because I don't recall it in the movie. Like, they don't mention that she died and she was pregnant. Like, is that considered double homicide?
Usually.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to come back. And I thought, like, I thought I remembered something like that, and it didn't come back. So, but there's a shot where she's with these two guys, and she's even flirting with Bruno. Like,
Yeah.
Because he, shows off his muscles, if you will, and hits the bell on like the strongman competition.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that shot where she like turns and is like looking for him, and then turns back, and the camera just moves over as she turns back and reveals he's right next to her, which is such an awesome shot.
Yeah.
Like, I literally had to go back and rewind it. I was like, that was incredible. And yeah, then you get the tunnel of love, which is really cool because Hitchcock plays with the audience in this sequence, which I love. He thinks you think that
You're
Bruno's going to
expecting-
murder.
Yeah.
Yep, Miriam, especially with her screaming, and then they come out and she's fine. And then it gets to, they like go off into this like little island area or something, and then he strangles her in that shot with her getting strangled in her glasses, which becomes a main theme of the movie is her glasses.
Yeah.
And like that reflection is like truly masterful. And to achieve that shot, Bruno murdering Miriam reflected in the glasses, it's an enormous distorting lens that was constructed. And they were like reflected in a 90-degree angle from what I was reading. And like that scene's kind of brutal of him just like choking her, and then the lighter drops on the ground and he takes the lighter, and that becomes like another symbol throughout the movie, which is really cool. It's like the MacGuffin, if you will.
Yeah, I think the lighter is kind of the MacGuffin of the movie because you think that's the big like, that's going to be the big like thing that really nails,
Guy.
Guy,
Yeah.
But it never actually materializes to be anything,
Yeah. and then Bruno just literally walks out of there and then helps a blind man across the street. And it's like just murders a woman and helps a blind man across the street. That's when you know he's like really fucking insane.
Yeah, he's like really unhinged. Yeah.
Like it's such a small little scene and detail, and I was just like, that's honestly like really cool. Like he's nice enough to help a blind man across the street, and then wants to murder a guy's wife. Pretty interesting.
Yeah,
That amusement.
It also kind of sets up like how Dexter has his like moral code, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, Bruno has some weird twisted concept of that too, where like, some like he's not just like a like absolute like indiscriminate killer, like he has some kind of set of rules, that are governing his actions, which is like very interesting. I think makes him more almost formidable, in a way. Like you because then like you don't know who he's actually gonna
don't
go
expect
after,
it.
right? Like,
yeah. He blends back into society as a normal person, and like,
right.
I feel like that's also kind of expressed in the scenes where he's like trying to infiltrate guys' life, and he's at like these parties with the senator, and he's strangling this woman, which is crazy. Like no one would ever do that. Also, did you catch who that woman was?
No.
Witness for the prosecution. She's the old lady that dies, that gets murdered.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I was like, no way. So that's kind of funny. That, again, another way that Jake knows how to make all these movies connect.
Yeah.
So that amusement park where they have all this shot was actually created at a guy's ranch, which is pretty cool in Chatsworth, California. And so they had a Ferris wheel there. And so did you know that Babs in this movie, so Anne's sister, is Patricia Hitchcock? That's Hitchcock's daughter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until
funny.
I was looking this up. I was like, no way. And she was also treated the same as everyone else on set, from what I was reading. It's like they would go to work together, and then they'd just literally be treated like they would treat each other like professionals, and then they wouldn't even talk about the movie like at home, which is funny. But it's just, I feel like that again goes to the level of perfectionism that Hitchcock has. But Patricia, Hitchcock's daughter, was encouraged by Hitchcock to go on a ride on the Ferris wheel, which was constructed on the fairground set. In exchange for doing it, he offered her $100 because she did not want to do it because she was scared of heights. She was finally persuaded to do it partly for the money. When she reached the top, Hitchcock ordered the ride stopped and all the lights turned out for like 5 seconds or so. She never got the money. He didn't give her the money and just did that. And she called her father's act sadistic. Like, jeez. He also I don't know if you've read this before about Hitchcock, but like Hitchcock always treats like one person like shit on all of his movies. He's like always treating someone like shit, and it's usually a woman, to be honest, which is not great. And Hitchcock treated Ruth Roman, who plays Anne in this movie, pretty harshly and would criticize her in front of everyone on set. He didn't want her for the part and was kind of forced onto her by the studio. And even Ruth Roman, Anne, knew that. So, like, she just kind of had to put up with it, which sucks. But it's interesting because, like, every time I read trivia on these Hitchcock movies, it's always like he treats someone like shit. Which, I don't know. I mean, I think it's because he's a perfectionist and he wants his movies his particular way, and if he doesn't get that, he takes it out on that person, which I get, but it's kind of, unprofessional in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like all the scenes of Bruno watching Guy. Like there's that shot of him on the stairs, like watching him from afar. There's all those like cool shots like that, and he's always somewhere lurking, which really creates like an ominous foreboding. And again, that scene, I can't get over it, from the stands of the people watching the volley of tennis, and he's just watching Guy. It's that shot in general should be studied like profusely, because that's like a shot that I'm like, God, this makes me want to go shoot movies and make movies. Like this is so cool.
He does a really good job of like escalating like through those shots too. Like I think the first one is where he's like on the steps of, I think, the Jefferson Memorial, watching Guy like get in the car and leave. And it's a pretty far away shot, like, but you know it's him because he's creepily standing there just like watching, Guy get in the car. Then I think the next time you see him, they're in like the museum or it's either a museum or like a library or something, with like the big like marble columns and stuff, and and like he kind of like pops like around like a column, and it's kind of like a medium shot, and then you get the like closer shot at the tennis court, where he's like really like creeping hard. Like
that's good. It's like it's slowly he's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, and like
that's great.
More and more obvious, I think, too.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
Amps it up, for the audience to be like, it's getting more and more serious, with like his like stalking or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, I mean the tension. I mean Hitchcock is the master at building tension, and this movie is all about ratcheting that tension up each bit. And I think, the tension just builds and builds and builds, and it's like it's so masterfully done in this movie.
Well, even the like the tunnel of love scene, we talked about already, but like like, you think it's going to happen there and it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then like
again, it's masterclass.
I think
it's a masterclass.
There's a Hitchcock quote where he like talks about that, where he's like, you have to show everybody that like you have to set something up so it like the murder's going to happen, but then you pull it away, then you make them wait, because it's more suspenseful. Like if you make them wait for it,
Here, it's the bombs under the table. Is what he said.
That one. Mm-hmm.
The difference between surprise and suspense uses a scenario of a hidden bomb. If a bomb explodes without warning, it creates a brief moment of surprise. However, if the audience knows the bomb is there and is ticking down, the same scene becomes filled with prolonged, fascinating suspense.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. That's so cool. Again, he's a master.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I think Bruno is stalking both Guy's wife and Guy. So it's like that prolonged experience of like, he's lurking in the background, and like, he's getting closer and closer, and like you're just waiting for, whatever the action is, to happen.
Yeah, this movie gave me like Cape Fear vibes too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The suspense of Guy going to Bruno's house to supposedly kill his father, which he doesn't, and he goes to confront and be like, "Hey, I want to talk about your son. He's mentally fucked up." But yet it's Bruno lying in bed in his tuxedo, which is also hilarious.
Yeah.
And that whole sequence is awesome and super intense, especially with with Guy going into the house, and then the dog at the top of the stairs, and it's growling, and then it calms down and licks his hand, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, and then post that sequence, he Sadie's shaking out. There's always something going on in the background here, people. The sequence of him with the gun, and he's like walking him down the stairs, and it's like, it's the same tunnel of love like setup. It's like, I'm not going to shoot you now, but it feels like I'm going to.
Well, he's pointing it at him
But
for the whole sequence too.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you're just waiting for like, is he gonna do it or not? You know.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
like even that, and like he's not going to do it, but even that you get that suspense.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Yeah, it's awesome. And then you get the suspense of the tennis match juxtaposed with Bruno losing the lighter, and that's like his only leverage that he has. And the whole sequence of him trying to get it, like again juxtaposed with a guy trying to win his match and like prolong his match to then escape and get away from the police that are on him 24/7. And the whole like cinematography of Bruno trying to grab the lighter, and you're like, oh, he's so close. Like, is he going to get it? Is he not going to get it? And Hitchcock chose every piece of garbage in that sewer, like what he wanted in there.
Yeah, I read that too.
Again,
which is so
yeah,
wild.
he's a perfectionist. It's just him being him. But I also watched, while watching the tennis match, I was like, they're playing good, but they're not playing like pro. But I was curious. I'm like, I bet you the guy across the way that's like that guy's actually playing is a pro. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it was tennis pro Jack Cunningham, and he coached Fairleigh Granger, who plays Guy, for the scenes. And so yeah, I was just like, that makes total sense. I don't know. It's just like it was a thought that came into my head. I was like, I bet you that guy's a pro, and they're just like they're using that to play. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a standard movie trick, but and in that scene where Anne and Babs are like planning their thing with gives her $10 to go hold the cab for Guy so he can make his escape. That was a real $10 bill. Which is funny because you can tell that's a real $10 bill versus another time someone else gets money in this, I forget who, and they're like counting it. And I was like, that's clearly like not real money. And so back in 1951, showing real U.S. money in movies was illegal without permission from the U.S. Treasury Department. And the Treasury Department later removed the prohibition for Psycho and later movies, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, and then you get this amazing sequence at the end of the merry-go-round, which is also kind of funny. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's not like technically impressive now, but like back then,
I think it was. Yeah,
I mean, like it's a little like
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Compared to movies now, I get it.
But I mean, to make a practical effect in that way at that time is pretty great. But yeah, I mean, I think like premise wise, it's a little goofy. Like they shoot the merry-go-round conductor on accident, and then like goes into like crazy overdrive speed. Like, that's a little ridiculous, but like,
it's
fine.
very
like,
old-time
I'll let
movie.
That, let that slide, and then like, it's a pretty good sequence.
Yeah. So they I think the whole sequence is awesome, and it's really fun and entertaining, and like, there's people on the merry, like the little kid is like smiling and like having the time of his life and trying to punch Bruno as well, and then it almost gets thrown off, and like everyone in the crowd's like, oh my God, which is hilarious. The stunt where you get that one kind of like very like kind of trashy carnival stagehand, if you will, who's like I'll
mechanic
do it.
or janitor or something.
Wipes his face with a handkerchief.
Yeah.
Classic. And him crawling under there, honestly, like really cool, but like is also apparently that was a real stunt, and the man crawled under it was not done with trick photography. It was the most dangerous stunt performed under his direction, and it will never be allowed to be done again, is what he said.
Yeah.
So
I read that he was like an actual like merry-go-round operator too. Like he was not like a trained stuntman or anything.
Oh.
So like, it makes it even more
That's
impressive
hilarious
that he didn't die.
I didn't know that. the explosion of it kind of like going crazy. I feel like I even said, I was like, could he have slowed it down a little, like, more gradual instead of just like yanking the fucking thing?
Yeah.
Like, geez, I think he caused more harm than foul. But the explosion was filmed in a miniature and then enlarged in a huge rear projection screen behind live performance, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, you
super
can
cool.
in these movies you can tell when it's like rear projection.
Yeah.
But it's still, I still love that. I still think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where like the ingenuity that they had to do some of those like practical effects back then was super cool. Like, yeah, like rear projection is like when it's done in like this kind of like use case, like, I mean, most of the time it's used like when they're driving a car or something,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, when they use it in these like really cool ways, it's super interesting.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, overall, I mean, that's all the trivia I have for this movie. And I think there was some great trivia, and it was a fun watch. And I really like that movie. I'm glad I watched it again. Again, I don't remember the last time I saw it, but looking forward on our schedule, we've got North by Northwest, we've got Psycho, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and The Lady Vanishes. I've seen North by Northwest, I've seen Psycho, but I've not seen The Man Who Knew Too Much, and I've not seen The Lady Vanishes. How about you, Jake?
Same, though I don't think I've ever seen North by Northwest all the way through.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah, we've got Hitchcock movies coming, and so we'll finish off this month with Hitchcock and older movies, and then I think we'll get into more modern movies. And I think we're going to do first watch for directors, like directors we love, and we'll get into that later at the end of the month. But anything you want to add, Jake?
No, just yeah, like I'm glad we started with this one. I think it's a good transition from Dial M for Murder, last month. And like, yeah, even though it's a like somewhat similar premise, I think it handles it in a very different and unique way, which is cool.
Agreed.
And get to see like a little bit more of like plotline diversity, even though it's still murder mystery or like murder thriller, kind of thing from Hitchcock. So yeah, looking forward to the other ones too, because a lot of these are like murder thrillers this month.
Yeah.
So that's just like what he does.
Yeah. So stay tuned, and hopefully you enjoyed this review, and we'll catch you next week with North by Northwest.
Yeah. See ya.
Thanks, guys.